You used to get throngs of worshippers coming here. It was one of the biggest underground churches in China, and now there's not much left to see. We tried to go in, they said, well, there's nothing here. Then we said what we wanted to see, they said the police have shut it down, and in any case, the lift isn't stopping at the 3rd floor. There's no trace left, and that's what people practicing Christianity in China fear. They'll simply be scrubbed from existence.
Now, one reason why I loved your book and I read it in a weekend, and it speaks to me even as an agnostic, is that I see in what you're describing also it's a metaphor for the attack on Western civilization, which Christianity is a large part.
China is officially an atheist state, with freedom of religion guaranteed in the constitution. State-sanctioned churches do exist, but the power and glory belongs to the party. It keeps tight control. Worshippers are registered, CCTV cameras fitted, and the Bible is even being retranslated by the government to ensure what they call correct understanding. But unofficial churches were tolerated, until recently. Police closed this one by force in Chengdu, southwest China, in December last year.
At the Idkar Mosque, one of Xinjiang's holiest sites, it is a symbol of earthly authority that flies from the roof. But the access we're being given is designed to show that any concern about China's tightening control of religious faith is misplaced. With the government-approved imam denying, for example, that long beards are now banned in Xinjiang. When we break away from our official tour, however, along with the locked and deserted homes, we find clear evidence of the suppression of Islamic customs and beliefs. So here it is in black and white, a notice telling people living in this village that certain religious practices are banned. At this point here at number 10 says that the wearing of long beards for young men is not to be allowed. Close by, we find one of Xinjiang's many re-education camps into which hundreds of thousands of Uyghurs, Kazakhs and other Muslim minorities have disappeared.
You have to know where to look. Hidden in a block of flats, behind a bolted door. This is what faith looks like in China. Xu Yonghai has run this underground church in Beijing since 1989. He's been to prison or re-education through labor camps 3 times because of his beliefs. But these are the darkest days he's known, as the Chinese Communist Party stamps down on any version of religion that doesn't acknowledge its supremacy.
我们主耶稣，我们是高举爱呀，我们是连仇敌都爱，他高举街头扔，高举这个，最起码他当年把这些个牧师长老抓起来，都是因为这些敌人，这都是帝国主义侵略中国的被利用的工具，肯定是我们都能感觉到宗教不自由。
China is officially an atheist state, with freedom of religion guaranteed in the constitution. State-sanctioned churches do exist, but the power and glory belongs to the party. It keeps tight control. Worshippers are registered, CCTV cameras fitted, and the Bible is even being retranslated by the government to ensure what they call correct understanding. But unofficial churches were tolerated, until recently. Police closed this one by force in Chengdu, southwest China, in December last year. This Beijing church was also shut down in another raid last year, after its leaders refused to install CCTV cameras. You used to get throngs of worshippers coming here. It was one of the biggest underground churches in China, and now there's not much left to see. We tried to go in, they said, well, there's nothing here. Then we said what we wanted to see, they said the police have shut it down, and in any case, the lift isn't stopping at the 3rd floor. There's no trace left, and that's what people practicing Christianity in China fear. They'll simply be scrubbed from existence.
Officials in China have agreed to provide money and land for rebuilding of a Catholic church in their country. The offer for compensation comes after parishioners barricaded themselves inside the church to try and stop the government from demolishing the building. Catholics in Wugaozhang held a vigil at their parish last week after local authorities said the church would be destroyed because of an alleged lack of proper building permits. Catholics there insist that the church was fully approved by the Chinese government. Join me now with demolishing that Catholic church and then offered to provide money and land to rebuild it. What do you think's at the heart of all of this? I mean, what's really going on?
What's really going on is that the Chinese Communist government is continuing to apply pressure on Catholics and, for that matter, all religious believers in China. They see these people not as some kind of religious organization, but as political opponents. It's the reason why they're looking at churches. Should they be shut down? They're looking at possible congregations meeting, and they see those not as religious events, but as political actions which challenge, and they will do whatever they have to maintain their political power. There are 91 million members of the Communist Party in China, and they will do whatever is necessary, including using force, which may yet come in Hong Kong, to maintain that political power.
Downloading unauthorized versions of the Bible is now an offense in China. Internet users there have noticed that with other Christian books, the Bible is unavailable from online shopping websites such as Amazon China, Taobao, and JD.com. According to state media, these companies face penalties for selling publications which they say adversely affect society. The move comes as Beijing is promoting a new report looking at religious life in China. The white paper on China's policies and practices on protecting freedom of religious belief says that the country has 200 million adherents to different faiths. And it promises that China will adopt policies on freedom of religious belief based on national and religious conditions to protect citizens' right to freedom of religious belief. Well, with me here in the studio is Howard Zhang, news editor with the BBC's Chinese service. Howard, good to have you with us. Let's just get back to basics if we can. Those figures, 200 million, which religions and how many of those are Christian?
I believe if you read the official white paper, they're saying 38 million of those are Protestant Christians, and then you have another 38 and another 8 million or so Catholics. So Christians, we're talking about a quarter of that. The rest, Buddhists, Taoists, and as well as Muslims.
And this is in a communist, nominally atheist state?
The atheism only applies to government officials. So in theory, if you're a member of the Communist Party, you're not supposed to believe anything but Karl Marx.
Is it possible that those figures are an underestimate? In other words, there are many more practicing underground, if you like.
Oh, definitely.
People look at China today and they said, you know, China certainly has to be a major player in the events of the end times. There's a couple passages in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, where people find China in Bible prophecy. And let me just mention these to you. In Revelation chapter 9 and verse 13, the sixth trumpet judgment is blown. And notice it says, "And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before God, and saying to the sixth angel who had the trumpet, release the four angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates." So these are four fallen angels. They can't be good angels because they're bound. So they're bound at the river Euphrates. And it says, and the four angels who'd been prepared for the hour and the day and the month and the year were released. So God has this down to the very day. So that they can kill, it says, a third of mankind. The number of the armies of the horsemen was 200 million. I heard the number of them. Now, a lot of people in modern times have believed that this is a reference to China.
Is the Christian church, or Christianity more broadly really, under attack, do you think, in the West?
It's not only under attack, it's losing the battle. Christianity has been fighting for its life for some decades, certainly since the 1960s. But now I think we have crossed a threshold into which the faith is rapidly falling back. And we Christians, I myself am a practicing Christian, we aren't ready for what's happening. A lot of us still want to believe that we live in a Christian civilization. In fact, we're a post-Christian civilization, and that doesn't mean we should surrender to it.
It's a big mystery. Why? I think you can say that secularism has seen Christianity as its enemy for a long time. I think globalists, they actually, and that's not something we talk about a lot in the political commentaries, but I think that they have a sort of, dark side, and it means that they have a kind of hatred against Christianity, because what globalism really wants is to turn over the Christian world order.
And so we find that this conundrum that we're caught up in is really not only something of our own making, but it's when we disconnect ourselves from what Scripture would refer to as even ancient wisdom and think that somehow because we are more vital or vibrant, that we are more advanced than ancient peoples. But many times the wisdom of age is critical to understanding how to navigate our life. As George Santillanes, the famous Spanish philosopher, once wrote, that well-known quote, "Men who don't learn the lessons of history are condemned to repeat them." And we find that that is so true, so scarily true, that as I look at our culture today where we don't really study history anymore, we study global climate change and global warming, but we don't study history or sociology or government. And instead we find a whole generation has no concept of where they've come or what lessons history has taught us through the centuries. And we're guaranteed that we will therefore repeat the same tragic errors of our forefathers from ages past.